um, the assignments for, I was working on the assignments for the Forever Changed, and I was so excited about the book and how it's coming out and the workbook and how all that's coming out. But I wrote something today about fear, and I decided not to teach it in the Forever Change. I decided to come here and teach it live here. So hopefully all of the grievers that are really wanting to hear this about fear can show up, and this message is for you if that's where you're at. One of the things for sure for me was grief was totally fearful. It was totally in my gut, the fear after Austin died. And so because the fear gripped me so tight, it was hard for me to figure out what my next move was going to be. And so that was one of the things that I wanted to talk about today, grief and fear, and how the two collide with one another, how grief feels a lot like fear and how it just absolutely takes you over. So that's where I'm going today, is talking about the fear, why grief feels so much like fear, why it's so fearful, and what we can do with it, right? Talking about it is the number one thing. For sure, talking about the grief fear is the number one thing that we can do to help ourselves with the fear. But I want to break down all of the other aspects of fear and how it really affects us in our grief. Okay, here we go, my friends. Let's have at it. All right, let me get my notes open. Fear is the most stripped down definition of the emotional and physical responses. It is a perceived threat. It is danger. It is loss of control of our body, loss of control of our mind. Your body and mind are sounding an alarm that something is painful and this could hurt. It is sending you an alarm that this could hurt. And when you first walk upon your grieving experience, your body is like, oh, no, this could hurt. But it's deeper than that. Let's look at it from a biology standpoint. Fear is rooted in survival. It triggers the fight, flight, or freeze response. Fear, when we feel the fear in our heart and our breath is taken from us, it triggers the fight, flight, or freeze response. Your heart races, your stomach tightens, your breath shortens. Your body is prepared to either run, it's prepared to fight, or it's just going to shut down. From a psychology standpoint, fear is the brain's way of protecting you from pain. Fear is the brain's way of protecting you from pain. It convinces you that standing still is safer than moving forward. It convinces you that standing right here is so much better than moving forward. Think about that from a grief aspect. Ooh, man, that memory. In grief, fear often shows up as belief that if you feel too much, you'll never come back. In grief, fear often shows up as a belief that if you feel too much, you'll never come back. Or if you start to heal, you'll lose your person completely. So here's the definition that I put in Grieve That Shit. Fear is the liar in the room, telling you to stay in the dark. It's safer than opening the door. It's not your protector. It's your jailer. I'm going to read that again because here is the definition that I put in Grieve That Shit. Fear is the liar. Fear is the liar in the room that tells you to stay in the dark. It's telling you it's safer than opening the door, and that it's not your protector, it's your jailer. Fear is one of the loudest voices you will hear after the loss. It doesn't whisper, it shouts. It tells you not to go that way. It is trying to convince you to stay stuck. It's telling you that it's safer if you stay in the grief pain. Fear is telling you it's safer than taking one step towards healing. The calendar is moving. The calendar is changing. We don't want to go. We don't want the calendar to move. We don't want time to move. But fear, it's easy when we're like that because fear can convince us to stay stuck. But here's the truth. Fear's not your protector. It is your jailer. Fear at its core, from a biology standpoint, is your response to danger. Your body is wired to survive, and it senses the threat. It senses the threat. The moment you get the call that something has happened, your heart starts pounding. The adrenaline takes over. You start thinking of all of the things you have to do, and you start thinking of them all at once. Your chest tightens. Your breathing turns very shallow. Your stomach drops. Your body is saying something is wrong, be on guard. Fear and grief is different. It's different than ordinary fear. It's not you really trying to outrun the danger. It is you living with the unbearable thought. What if I can't survive this? What if I can't survive this? That thought is playing over and over again in your head. Why? Why? Why me? Why her? Why now? Fear in grief shows up as fear and pain itself. If I really feel this, I'm never going to stop crying. That's fear. It's coming from fear. Fear of forgetting. If I work on this, I'm going to forget her, and I don't ever want to forget her. First of all, I want to tell you guys this. I hear this so many times, but I also want to tell you I'm not that powerful. Sorry, I'm just not. Fear of judgment. If I laugh, they're going to look at me and be like, doesn't she even love her? Hey, Miss Becky, doesn't she even love her? People are going to start thinking I'm over it if I laugh. And fear that we will collapse. Fear that we will collapse and fall apart, and we will never get back up. If I start crying, I won't be able to stop. If these tears start, I won't be able to stop. Every single one of these fears is a lie. Fear is a lie. Fear is a lie. Every one of these fears is a lie. But it feels true in your bones. It really does. Fear shows up in your body. It's the tightness in your chest. It's that rapid heartbeat. It's the snot. It's the knot in your stomach. It's your trembling hands. Bren says fear is a lie. It totally is a lie. It's the exhaustion. It's the exhaustion. It feels like you're carrying around 50 extra pounds of weight. Fear is going to try and keep you safe. Fear is going to try to tell you you got to keep yourself safe. It's going to tell you not to go into the grief. Fear is going to tell you not to go into the grief. And the only way out of this is through it. The only way out of this is through it. And fear is going to tell you not to go that way. I promise you guys, it's a lie. It'll tell you to stay quiet. It's going to tell you to stay still. It's going to tell you not to rock the boat. Don't rock the boat. It's okay. At least it's not that bad. If you stay right here, it's not going to get any worse. If you go over there, it's going to get worse. And here's the deal, friends. I don't know. It might get worse. It might get a little worse. But it's going to get a little better too. It's going to get a little better. Fear will convince you that avoiding the grief is the only way to survive. I have to say that loud, and I have to say it again. Fear will convince you that avoiding the grief is the only way to survive. But here's the hard truth. Fear isn't protecting you. It is blocking you. It believes in its own fear. Fear believes in its own fear. It believes the things it's telling you is true. It puts the cement around your feet. It locks the door. It's the voice that tells you the dark room is safer than the light outside. Come on now. Fear shows up at the edge of something that matters. You have something that matters. You've lost that thing that matters to you. Fear is going to show up. Fear shows up just at the edge of that thing that matters. You weren't afraid of brushing your teeth this morning. You weren't afraid to get up and make your coffee. But when it comes to facing your pain, boy, it'll remind you in a second. You can get up, you can put your feet on the ground, you can go brush your teeth, you can pick out your clothes for school, you can get up and make your coffee. But the minute you start thinking about your person, your heart starts beating fast. Fear shows up in full force because it knows you're standing on the edge of something that is life-changing. Your losses are life-changing. The other side of fear isn't betrayal. The other side of fear isn't forgetting your person. It's not dishonoring them. The other side of fear is your freedom in your grief, your freedom to breathe, your freedom to carry the love you have for them without being crushed by it, to step forward without losing them in your heart. Fear is always going to knock on the door of the griever. It always will, forever. It will always knock on the door of the griever because that's human. But you get to decide. You get to decide, not me. If you're going to allow the jailer to be your teacher or me. And I promise you, I'm going to hold your hand. And you're going to face it. And you're going to choose the steps that you take. All right. C.S. Lewis wrote a lot about grief, fear, and rawness. And I know you guys have seen this quote because it is all over the world. He wrote this in a piercing book called A Grief Observed. He wrote it after the death of his beautiful wife, Joy. And one of the most honest accounts of grief that has ever been written. And one of the most quoted lines out of his books, hey, Flaw Girl, hey, love, how you doing? One of the most quoted lines out of his book is, no one ever told me that grief felt so much like fear. Here's what he meant. I want to break it down for you. Grief feels like fear in the body. Lewis wasn't talking about being afraid of something chasing him. That's not what he was talking about. He was describing the racing heart, the knot in his stomach, the relentless anxiety he was feeling and he was terrified of. Grief made his body react as if danger was all around him. Grief made his body react as if danger was all around him. That's why so many grievers say things like, I feel sick. I can't catch my breath. I don't know if I can do this, because we are encapsulated in the fear. Couldn't think of the word encapsulated. Fear of what life means now was the other part of what Lewis was talking about. The fear wasn't just physical. It was existential. Fear of waking up tomorrow without her. The fear of waking up tomorrow without your person. The fear of the emptiness. The fear of the unknown. The fear that maybe he couldn't survive this kind of pain. What if I can't survive this? What if I can't do this? What he was trying to do was name the connection to the grief. By saying grief felt like fear, Lewis gave words to what so many of us as grievers feel. But we can't explain it. We just can't explain it. Grief hijacks our nervous system. It tricks our body into living in survival mode. And here's the deal, friends. You're not going to be able to do that forever. And when there's no bear, and there's no robber coming in the house, and there's no storm coming, and no earthquake is on the horizon, the threat in the absence of your person and the whole system, your whole system responding to it, like if it is that type of danger. It tricks your body into thinking that you are being chased by a bear and you got to get out of there. Think about living in that 24/7. Lewis nailed it. He didn't just break his heart. He knew that grief had hijacked his whole body. And he wanted to be able to give a vision to the grief in words. He said it felt like fear because the nervous system is screaming that something is wrong and that there is danger here. But the danger wasn't outside of him. It was the gaping hole inside of him. All right, friends. I love that quote. People quote it a lot. No one ever told me that grief felt so much like fear. And so I wanted to break down where he was coming from with that. So if you're here right now, it's not because your life is easy. Nobody wanders into this grief teaching just out of curiosity. Nobody says, oh, it's the grief school. Let me see what that crazy bald-headed lady's talking about tonight. You're here because something inside of you has been shattered. And you're desperate for even one breath of relief. And that's what made you come into the live tonight. I want to say this before I get into the rest of the teaching. Erica lost a really good friend tonight, this morning. Erica lost a really good, it's a couple friend of theirs, and the wife died, and she's young. I want to say to each and every one of you, go tell your family members how important they are. We all know this. We all know this. None of us are promised tomorrow. I can't even think about her husband and what he's going through. But I just want to remind you guys, I'm going to teach the rest of this lesson, but this is so heavy on my heart. I think I've texted her at least 3 or 4 times today because I just cannot believe it. And my heart to each and every one of you that are actively grieving. But every one of us have someone who we haven't told them we love them. We haven't told them how important they are to us, and we haven't given them a hug. I want you guys to please, and I'm begging you, do your grieving in real time. Talk to everybody. Hey, Rosebud. She says, I lost my son in June, and I'm so lost. Tell us his name, Rosebud. I want each and every one of us to go and hug somebody in our family and tell them how important they are to us. Today, tomorrow at the barbecue. Tell your grandkids, tell your children, tell your mom, tell your dad. We're not promised tomorrow. And I would hate to think that any of us are left with things unsaid. Anyway, that's just from my broken heart. Tom, everybody, can we tap the screen for Rosebud and for Tom and give her some love tonight? My heart to yours. I'm so glad you're here, my love. We're talking about fear. Oh, I can't wait to hear about that. Monette. Everybody give Tom and Rosebud some love. You're here because something inside of you has been shattered. You're desperate for even one breath of relief. You wake up every morning with the same weight in your chest, and no matter how hard you try to shake it, it clings to you. The ache follows you from your bed to the bathroom, into the car, through the day. It's like a shadow that's refusing to loosen its grip. When people ask you what you're doing, you don't even know the exact answer of how to tell them. When they ask you how you're doing, you don't know. For most of us, we lie and we tell them we're fine. You give them the little practice nod, the little smile. You politely say that you're okay. But deep down, you and I both know you're not okay. You're not even close. That's why you showed up tonight. That's why you're hanging out here. And whether you say it out loud or not, there's one question that's burning in your heart. Why am I in here? Why am I sitting here listening to this lady? Why don't I just walk away? I can just stay in this pain. Why should I even keep listening? And here's the truth, friends. I'm not going to sugarcoat this for you. I'm not going to tell you something cute and comfortable. I'm going to tell you the truth. And it's probably going to be covered with shit because that's the way I talk. I'm going to tell you the truth. And what's in it for you is just on the other side of fear. Because right now, fear has locked you into a prison. It's the fear of waking up tomorrow and being slammed with the silence. The fear of waking up and knowing that he's not going to be there. The fear of waking up knowing that you're not going to get that call from them anymore. It's the fear of walking into the kitchen and seeing that empty chair at the table. It's the chair your person used to sit in. And it feels heavier now, heavier than any stone you could carry. You're also fearful of letting more tears fall. You're also fearful of letting the grief be there. Why? Because the fear feels like it's not small. It feels like it's not gentle. It feels like a struggle to you. It's squeezing out your life every single moment. But I need you to hear me tonight. The fear may be loud. The grief may be loud, but it is not the truth. Fear is a lie. The other side of fear is not where you lose them. It's where you finally stand up. It's where you finally find the freedom to breathe. Becky says, I'm afraid that the pain is going to get worse. When you think about your grief, what fear shows up the loudest? Did you know my question? Hey, Flaw Girl. Hey, I looked you up today. Was that you in the talk last night waving your hand? I think I connected that it's you, my love. Waving your hand and wanting to ask a question last night in the live yesterday. Okay, great. I had my assistant look you up and I found it and I made the connection. So I'm going to send you an email, okay? When you think about grief, what fear shows up the loudest? I want you guys to name it. Because once you name it, it loses a little bit of its power. Becky says, my fear is that the pain will get worse. It'll lose a little bit of the power once you name it. Hey, Joanne. Hey, Pauline. Thank you, Joanne. Fear is the jailer. It feels like you've been poured over cement and you're just going to stay here. Fear convinces us that standing still is safer. Fear whispers lies in your ear. If I let go of this pain, I'm going to lose him forever. If she sees me laughing, she's going to judge my grief. If I break down right now, I'm never going to get up. I'm never going to stop crying. Those aren't not true. You've heard these voices before. You've heard these comments. And maybe they didn't sound just like that, but they sounded something like that. They're not strangers. These comments are not strangers. They live in you. They speak to you every single day, sometimes loudly, sometimes louder than you want. Fear is not your protector. What lie has fear been whispering to you this week? Was all over the place today, and I asked myself what it was and who are you? And they said sadness. Yeah, I love that. I love that, Butterfly Roses. She said, who are you? Who are you? And what are you doing here? When the phone rang and I answered the phone and it was Brittany, you guys have heard me tell this story. And she said, Mom, I lost Austin. I know that my heart was beating fast, but I also felt like it stopped. I felt like I skipped a breath. And for the rest of my life, I'll never forget that moment. And it was so much fear that hit me. My knees went weak and I hit the ground. And when I tell you, it is not uncommon for the grievers' knees to go weak and for them to hit the ground. I've heard that so many times. My brain couldn't even process the words. It just blinked out for a minute. And the whole time I was keeping my voice strong. She didn't know that I went to the ground. I collapsed to the floor and my body was screaming on the inside, but I was whispering to her, he's there, Brittany, he's there. Everything inside me broke all at once. And for an instant, the fear walked in and sat down. But I'm no fool. I knew I needed to lean into the be strong. I have to tell you guys something else. I don't know what would have happened if Tony wasn't there. I was sitting at a real estate open house and Tony was there. Tony's my husband. Tony was there. I think that I was able to grab onto the Be Strong because he was there. I would have freaked out. It is beyond normal to say you don't know how to grieve, Rosebud. Because when were you given the book on how to grieve? Who gave you the instructions on it? I didn't have it. I didn't have the instructions when Austin died. And Rosebud, Austin was my 10-year-old nephew. Brittany was my daughter that called me. Everything inside me broke at once. And in an instant, fear walked in and sat down. And you know what it said? You're never going to survive this. You're going to be like this for the rest of your life. Fear told me that if I let myself look directly at this pain, if I let myself feel it all the way, I was never going to come back. I knew beyond a reasonable doubt I was going to be like this. So I decided that, well, I'm just going to be like this. And that I would drown in it. And that my life was over. I literally thought my life was over. And I believed it. Austin died in Lake Havasu. A month after the death, Lake Havasu City Council decided to honor Austin. And honestly, you guys, I don't know if I've ever shared this with you. They were sorry they ever said that to us. They really thought that, hey, the city council, it was the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce is going to call us up there, and they were going to put a plaque in the ground right by in this area that they have a lot of plaques. And it's a brass plaque. It's about this big. And it said Austin. It says his birthday. And it says, are you pondering what I'm pondering? I'll have to tell you guys that story one day. Where am I at? Okay. I'm like, where am I at? And I think they thought that the Chamber of Commerce thought, oh, well, we'll call his family and 6 people will come. 101 people showed up. 101. We all got shirts with Austin's picture on them. Everybody had a shirt with Austin's picture from the boating trip from that weekend. I rented a hall, and we had a reception afterwards. It was there, and that's why I'm telling you guys that. In the reception, as I was standing in there, we had toys for the kids, we had food. So the Chamber of Commerce did their little thing. They had to bring out all these chairs. They had to rent chairs, because when I called them and gave them the head count, they were blown away. They had to rent chairs. It was the last time I've ever been to Havasu. It was the last time I've ever been to Havasu. When we rented the chair, they had to rent the chairs, and then I rented a hotel space, and we brought in food. So we're all in the hotel space. We had games for the kids, and we just hung out. We were just hanging out because we had elderly people with us, and it was a nicer place to be. Standing in the middle of that was when I thought, I'm going to be like this for the rest of my life. That's when I thought. It was about a month later. I lived in that prison for a long time. I smiled when I had to. I went through the motions. I was still trying to do research. I was doing what the world expected me to do, which I thought was being strong, but I was suffocating on the inside. Fear had his hands over my throat, and it was choking the life out of me. And I was pushing back on my own daughter. I wanted her to act strong like me. Because Rosebud, I didn't know how to grieve. I didn't know how to grieve. Until one day, it was about 8-9 months later, I realized that I had to do this thing. I did not want to deal with it. I didn't want to go after it. It was burying me alive, but I had 2 choices. I could stay locked in this pain, or I could find the courage to walk through it. And that is the only way that I'm standing here today talking to you, because I chose the other side of fear. And if I can do it, my loves, you can do it too. You can do it too. And it is not easy. I'm not over here telling you it's going to be easy, because it's not. Can you remember the first time fear told you that you weren't going to survive this? It probably happened right away. You're going to be like this for the rest of your life. You're never going to survive this. What did it feel like in your body? Did your chest tighten? Because fear always shows up in our body first. It lives in our breath. It lives in our chest. It lives in our stomach. And a lot of times, friends, when we don't get out of bed because we feel like we can't, the thing we're not wanting to feel is the fear. We're not wanting to feel the fear. I thought I was going under. I've been here for a year now, as of yesterday. So grateful. So glad we're friends now. I'm so glad we're friends. This is why I'm bringing the Forever Change Intensive Weekend back, because I know what it feels like to have fear that has never left you. I know what it's like to wake up every day wondering if you'll ever breathe again, if you'll ever just gasp and get it out. I know what it's like to wonder if you're ever going to get to the other side of this. I know what it's like to hear the lies of fear and live in them every day. When you come to Forever Change, you're going to be sitting in a room with women who will tell you you don't have to be strong here. You can be silent. You can let tears come down. And the whole time you're living through that and you have the support, I'm going to be teaching. There are going to be women in that room who know the sound of their own hearts breaking. Women who are done pretending that they're okay. And I'd like to invite you to that. I'm glad you're here too, Rosebud. I really am. Okay, perfect time for a commercial. Right in the middle of my hot flash. Okay, love. My name is Sharon Brubaker, and I'm the owner of the Grief School. The Grief School is a private university and the place where healing begins. Go to the link in my bio, and there you're going to click on the link that says click here for hope. Miss Rosebud, there's 3 things I want you to get, 2 things I want you to get right now. I want you to get the book that says The Griever's Guide. It is the definition of grief. It is a free downloadable. I want you to download it. And I also want you to get That Grief Shit. I wrote a book. It's coming out. It's called The Grieve That Shit, and That Grief Shit is the shit. Okay. I want you to join the Facebook group, which is the Grief School. I go live 3 or 4 times a week. On Thursdays and Saturdays, I will not be teaching the lecture hall. This Saturday is the funeral for my mom's husband, for Lawrence. So this week I'm going to be a little in and out, but I will see you guys. I'll let you know ahead of time. I'm going to post my schedule tomorrow morning in the Grief School so you guys will know where I'm going to be. Friday we're traveling, Saturday is the funeral. So if for anybody who's new here, I lost my nephew Austin in 2006. He drowned at the lake on Father's Day weekend. I went on a mission to find out everything that I could about grief and loss. I've had multiple losses since then, and I share them all here with you. I teach women an educational program on grief and loss, and I teach you how to move beyond the pain. I guide you. I say, hey, do this. And you do the work, and it's the hard work, and my job is to guide you. Okay. Why does it feel so strong? Why does the fear feel so strong? Fear feels bigger in grief than anywhere else in life, and there's a reason for that. You fear losing again. You fear losing them again. You fear losing yourself again. You fear losing someone else. Your pain feels like the last thread that you've had to them. So if that thread was the last thread that you've had, and it's right here in your heart, you don't want to lose that. You fear being judged. People around you act like grief has an expiration date. You're terrified that if you start to smile or laugh, just like what I said, your grief is not your only tie to them. Fear is lying to you about that. It's not your only tie. I recently worked with a woman and she shared with me that she never went into her husband's closet for 3 years. Fear told her that if she moved even one shirt or folded one sweater out of the place, that she would lose him completely. He was also already not here physically, but touching anything in the closet meant that the pain that he left her in her heart would also dissipate. And she tortured herself for 3 years. So she lived in the fear. She kept the closet closed like a sealed tomb. She started showing up in the lives. She decided to do some work. She came out. We sat together. I didn't do anything. I don't live with her. I don't live near her. She decided to step into the fear on her own. And she walked into the closet and she took some stuff out. And she called her son to come and get it. She didn't lose him again. She found him in a new way. She cried. She broke. But on the other side of that fear, she found some freedom. She realized she could carry his love without carrying only the suffering. They both exist in our heart. The pain of grief and the love are both there. We have to go after the pain. That rock, that gut-wrenching rock, we've got to go after that. What in your life, what closet in your life are you too afraid to open? It might be an actual closet. It might be a drawer. It might be a room. It might be a letter. It might be a conversation. It might be a decision that you need to make. Friends, when we do the work together, we look at all of this. We look at it together. You don't have to be afraid to do it by yourself. We're a group of women who are doing this together. Joanne says, I've been feeling really nervous this weekend. Do you know why, Joanne? Number one, you don't have to answer it here, but I want you to do me a favor. Go back to when you first remembered the nervousness showing up. Go back to when you first remembered it showing up. What were you thinking about? What were you doing? There's an answer there. Miss Hope says fear shows up as anxiety. Absolutely, it shows up as anxiety because we don't want to feel the fear. So sometimes we have the anxiety attack. That's the only way to release the pressure. Friends, you can come here terrified, and I promise you're going to leave lighter. You come here frozen, and you're going to be moving again. You can come in believing fear is your master, and you're going to leave knowing that it was a liar. I promise you on the other side of fear, there is freedom. Let me be very clear. That is where pain-free living is. That's not a promise. I'm not promising that your life's going to be better. I'm sorry, be perfect. I'm not promising that. I promise that it's going to be lighter. You're going to be able to move. You'll be able to loosen up. You'll be able to carry their love without all of the suffering. Will you miss them? Probably. For a very long time. That's me telling the truth. You've got to see what the next chapter holds for you. It's important for you to see what the next chapter is holding for you. Oh, Miss Joanne. Miss Joanne says, I'm nervous about a doctor's appointment on Tuesday. So that's what's making you nervous. All the personal questions and the marital status questions And I'm going to add something on there, and I'm going to be honest about it. Hey, Bella Red, I'm going to be honest about it. There may also be, you may also have to fill in your questionnaire and your emergency contact. I want you to be prepared. So, Miss Joanne, before you go into the doctor's appointment, do as much as you can. Thank you, love. Do as much as you can to release some of the grief. But know that even if you go in there and it is emotional, that it is okay. It is okay if you go into the doctor's appointment and it's emotional. The fear of not wanting to break down keeps us and holds us back sometimes. Fear is loud. It's convincing. Bellarette says, I hated that part. I cried knowing I couldn't put Cedric's name anymore. Miss Joanne, don't. You don't have to tell anybody that. You don't have to tell anybody that. If you don't want to, you don't have to. It's okay. The fear is loud. The fear is convincing. But you are stronger than the fear. And when you choose to walk through the fear, now I didn't just tell you to be strong. I just want you to know that you can. You can. I don't want you to go from fear to being strong, to being stuck in there. I want you to be human. Being human means feeling everything, allowing everything. And when you choose to walk through the fear instead of living in it, instead of living with it, you finally start living again. You don't have to. I'm not telling them, I'll say single, but rather not answer. I'm totally fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. Laura says, once we face the things we fear, it's not as big as we anticipated, and we find freedom and confidence. 100%, my love. Close your eyes for just a moment, and I want you to imagine that you're standing at a door, a locked door. Your hand is on the knob. Your heart is racing. Fear is screaming at you to stay put. Now imagine that the door is cracking just a little bit. Just a little bit of light is seeping through the gap. And you're curious about it. And you just pull the door just a little bit because your hand is already on the handle. And when you open the door, there's a bright light. It's lighter in that room. It's freer. It's stronger. See yourself laughing without guilt. See yourself remembering them without drowning. See yourself living without being crushed. That's what waits for you on the other side. That's what waits for you on the other side. I don't know, Joanne. I don't know the answer to that. And I think it all depends, and everybody's got a different answer. For me, it doesn't matter because of the way mine is set up. My husband is still alive, my love, but it wouldn't matter because it's set up for me that way. So I can't answer that for you. I'm so sorry. Maybe make an anonymous call and ask. The little image that I gave you of walking through the door, that's what it's like when you come to Forever Change. If you're tired of doing this alone, if you're tired of holding it all together, if you're tired of waiting for time to fix this, that's what it's going to be like. If you're new here and you just need information or you just need a community, that's what this is. This is a community of lovely, lovely women where we're learning this together. We're walking this together. Thank you. Thank you. Is it Donna Pina? And here's the truth. Time is not going to heal. Avoiding your grief doesn't heal. Pretending not to have grief doesn't heal. Here's what heals. Courage heals. Yeah, it's Bella Red. Facing fear heals. Walking through it helps to heal. So I want to go back to the question that I asked you all in the very beginning. And that question was, what's in it for me? Relief. Relief is in it for you. Relief from carrying this alone. Courage. Courage is in it for you. Courage to face the fear that's been choking you. Freedom. Freedom is in it for you. Freedom to live with them in your heart. Freedom to live with their love, not just their loss. A chance to breathe is in it for you. A chance to laugh is in it for you. A chance to write the next chapter of your life. Friends, there is going to be a next chapter. I promise you there's going to be a next chapter. What's in it for you is just on the other side of this fear, and you're never going to find it unless you walk through that door. The door is waiting, and I'm on the other side, and I'm holding out my hand to you, saying, come on, we can do this. Come and join me at the Forever Changed. I'd be honored to give each and every one of you a hug. I really would. All right. I know it's a holiday weekend, and I know a lot of you are having a little bit of extra grief just because it is a holiday weekend. So I wanted to make sure I showed up today. But fear was so on my heart. Fear was so on my heart. So I wanted to make sure that I was writing actually for the weekend, and I wrote this thing on fear, and I was like, I'm going to teach this tonight. And that's how it happened. I wish you could come too, Miss Hope. I really wish you could come. It would be amazing. I'd be so honored to have you there. Truly. All right. TikTok, hold on. Everybody on the Facebook group, I love you. I will see you guys tomorrow night. I'll be back tomorrow night. All right. Don't know what I'm teaching, but I'll be back. Also, I'm going to post my schedule in the Facebook group for the week because it's going to be on and off. There will be no Honor Society this week. There will be no quiet table, and there will be no study hall this week because I'm packing up the last few things up for my mom, and we're going to the funeral for her husband, Lawrence. So I'm going to be in and out. So I have some one-on-ones. I will be meeting those. All right. But I will be doing lives. Okay. At random weird times, I'm assuming. I may even do a live in the car with my mom. We'll see. All right. Bye.